All right, hey, welcome back. Stash Away Thoughts. We're here to do this thing. And like I said, we got a special guest here. We got retired. Make sure to say retired.
Yes,
Yeah,
retired.
Captain Drew Hairston, but retired. So probably just Mr. Drew Hairston, as the kids would call you. But hey, thanks for hopping on over here today for the show. I appreciate that.
It's always a pleasure, man. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I've already told you a little bit about the show. Like, our direction is really hoping that, an inspirational voice like yourself, we can get it out there and maybe in turn you help somebody else. So, a little backstory, and then I'll let you take it away. But a little backstory. So, Drew here is a AK, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Okay,
AK.
so AK, what does that exactly mean?
So it's above the knee amputee. So you have AK and BK, above knee, below knee. Yeah.
Okay, so above knee and Burger King, got it. Sick. But more importantly, yeah. So you are a above the knee amputee on your left leg. Dude, that's wild. But I mean, I knew you from before. Me and Drew here, we met when we were both at Wounded Warrior Battalion. And then we both competed in the games together. This man is actually the reason that I was anywhere decent, and I'll say mediocre at wheelchair basketball.
Mediocre is right because I did everything at the games. I did everything right to set you up, and you were shooting like what, maybe 10% that night. Like,
Hey,
no.
the 10% was good for some games. All right, let's not
No.
forget about that. When I was hot, I was hot. But when I was not, I was not.
And let alone like trying to keep you off the refs. Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
your
those guys
little bouts with the refs.
I don't understand. You figured if we were there for Wounded Warrior, they would have cut us some slack, but no, they weren't.
I mean, when you have this dude with this mustache rolling up on you and complaining about every little thing, like.
I don't think there were complaints. I was trying to get us the dub. Trying to get us a win.
They probably didn't know how to respond because like you're getting at the refs. You had the biggest smile on your face even though you were discontent with them, and I'm sure they didn't know what was going on.
Oh, absolutely. No, I actually wholeheartedly believe that. I think they were also upset with the fact that I would argue about a lot of things and then probably stand up out of my wheelchair.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, this guy.
Yeah.
Like, to them, they were like, okay, wait, hold on. You got a problem? Go play in another league, all right? Like, yeah, we don't need you around here. But no, again, so yeah, thanks for teaching me and allowing me to fail in front of a crowd like that for Team Marine Corps. But yeah, so essentially, I know how I got to Wounded Warrior. People assume, Wounded Warrior, that you're hurt in combat, hurt in other conditions. For those that don't know, it can also be mental health issues related. But for yours, if you could, take us through your story about how you actually ended up at Wounded Warrior.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Yeah, so my story is simple. Got back from deployment, got hit by a car, as life would have it, of course. But no, so
As if the deployment wasn't enough.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, so I have fun in the Marine Corps. I got to deploy out to SP MAGTF Craft, which for those who don't know, like everybody assumes Iraq, Afghanistan, but we were doing some stuff over in North and West Africa. So crisis response force, gentleman's deployment, but things picked up while we were there. So some cool opportunities while we were there, and made it home safe. While I was moving to our new house with my wife, mattress fell out of the bed of the truck. Funny backstory to that. I'm a husband, right?
Yeah.
So you probably understand this. Wife looks at the mattress strapped down. She's like, "You sure that's good?" I'm like, going 5 minutes down the road.
Mind your own.
Yeah.
Mind your own. I'll take care of the straps.
It's like, look, we're just going 5 minutes down the road. We'll be fine. The
Boy,
mattress,
were you wrong.
did I not realize that? Oh man, she still gives me hell for it. But that mattress didn't last 1 minute on the truck. But no, so rolling down the road, mattress caught a little bit of wind, fell off into the road, and yeah, just was loading it back up. Nobody was coming down the road, waited to make sure the road was clear. And as I was putting it in the bed of the truck, I just, everything started spinning. Everything went black, everything started spinning, and I was laying on the road. So,
So just like that, you go from picking your mattress up. Do you actually know if you got it loaded, or were you still holding this, Larry? Like
that I do not know.
holy
I have
shit.
no clue where in the process. The funny thing is, I remember everything leading up to it. I remember everything afterwards, which there will be definitely a mental health tie-in with all that later on. But yeah, I don't remember exactly where I was on impact. So um, after crying for help and everything, some folks came outside. Everybody started.
And you were by yourself?
I was by myself and the dude in his vehicle. So I started coordinating my own rescue efforts. Like everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" Like, "Hey, you all call my wife. You all call 911." Uh, and then this woman, she's like, "What's your wife's number?" I call her my guardian angel because she actually laid down on the ground with me, rubbing my back.
This random lady.
Random woman came out of her house, laid down with me, and then she went to call my wife. She asked what's her number. I said, "Hey, just find my phone. My phone should be inside the truck." They're like, "What truck?" Like, the truck right there. I look back, or I look to my left, and I see the guy who hit me walking out of his vehicle with a phone in his hand. I didn't know that was a guy. I started yelling, "He's stealing my phone." He's like, "No, I'm not."
Oh man.
So
Was he white?
No, it was a black dude. Oh.
Alright. Acceptable.
Yeah.
It was a white guy. I'm just kidding. Go ahead, my bad.
No, you're good. So, it like in hindsight, it was like a very hilarious engagement. At the time, I was pissed off. I'm thinking this dude who I don't know is stealing my phone out of the car. But in his defense, like, dude just hit somebody. Like, everybody, when I tell them that, they're like, "How could he yell at you? He just hit you." I'm like, dude's in shock. He just plowed into a dude, sent him 100 yards down the road. Like, do you really expect him to be anything other than, like, I mean, I'm trying to, at that point, I didn't realize it, but I'm like essentially accusing him of another crime on top of the attempted vehicular manslaughter that just occurred.
You wanted the most out of the situation.
No, so we had that little exchange. Finally,
While you're on the ground?
While I'm
so
on
you're
the
on the ground. You know, you got your guardian angel laying next to you, and you're yelling and hooting and hollering at this man.
Yes.
Don't quit.
Keep in mind, at this point, I still think that I just hit my funny bone. I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah.
Oh, no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea what had just happened. I thought I had just hit my funny bone, and I'm just gonna pop back up, go on back home, and everything was gonna be fine.
Did you attempt to get up?
So there was a bumper his bumper was laying on my back, so I kept trying to take it off of me, and everybody kept telling me, "No, don't do it." I'm like, "What the hell? It's just this little piece of bumper. Just take it off." What I didn't know is that they were trying to protect me from seeing that I was bleeding out in the street at that moment. So they the firefighters get there. I used to be a firefighter back in the DC area. I'm a volunteer. So anytime I'm involved in anything with police, firefighters, medics, I talk to them about that. So we're having a full conversation while I'm laying on the ground. I'm like, "Yeah, y'all got anything in your med bag?" They're like, "Nah, but medics are right behind." I'm talking to them about my time as a firefighter. You would never have thought that anything or what I was about to find out had actually happened. So they put me on the stretcher. I should have realized something was wrong when they tourniqueted my left leg, but I didn't think anything of it.
You forgot about the Marine Corps
Yes,
shit.
exactly.
Yeah, out the window.
In hindsight, I'm like, oh my gosh, all the stuff that I learned in TCCC
I was just
and
gonna
all
say,
that
what's
stuff.
TCCC? I'd like to buy a consonant.
Oh
C.
my gosh,
Yeah.
all that stuff went out the window. I didn't think anything of it because I'm still thinking that I just hit my funny bone. This is all just routine stuff. They're gonna see me in the back of the ambulance, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get out. But no, they got me in the back of the ambulance. They gave me some meds. They asked, how's the pain? How you feeling? I'm like, well, I'm pissed off. I just ordered some Domino's and now I'm not going to get to eat it.
What was the pizza? Do you remember?
It was, I think, pepperoni and bacon with extra cheese. That's typically my go-to.
Yeah. What's that?
Smart man.
Yeah. Do you ever go back to that pizza?
Oh, no,
or is that like tied in PTSD?
No, I do not order from that Domino's anymore because this is a part of the story that I don't really tell anybody. They never delivered my pizza.
Oh, hey Domino's, calling all Domino's out there. Get this man his pizza now.
Like I remember asking my wife while I was still in the hospital. I'm in the hospital, can barely move, can barely talk, and I'm like, did they ever deliver that pizza?
Oh, stop.
Oh
my God.
She's like, that's what you're worried about? I'm like, I paid $40 for pizza that night, and they never delivered it. Like, I want my $40 back.
Oh, shit. So, when, was there a moment, and what was the moment like, obviously you see them putting the tourniquet on. Maybe you said that's when it clicked to you a little, that something was a little more serious. So when did it actually solidify in your mind that this was going to be the actual outcome?
It was hearing the actual outcome. So right after they asked me how I was feeling, and we were still laughing, joking in the back of the ambulance, that's when I heard them on the radio say, left leg amputated. On site, and my eyes opened up wide. I looked at the medics. I'm like, wait, what the hell did they just say? And they knocked me out immediately with some ketamine. Woke up 2 days later in the hospital, or a day later, something like that.
Damn. So, well, with that type of injury, right? We could only assume. And for the viewers that don't know, again, I know you, and JP knows you. What was the damage to the other leg?
Oh, it was all bad.
Because obviously with a truck hitting you, it's not just hitting one leg. It's not like you leaned into it, like you're not trying to sell a foul on the basketball court.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
It was, I was lucky that, my guess is he was hitting his brakes, so it dropped the front of his vehicle down. So everything was knees and below. But I also have to keep in mind, he hit me going fast enough to send our Silverado that was in park at the time 100 yards down the road. Jeez. And the only reason it stopped was because it hit a tree and completely crushed in the front of the vehicle. So, of course, some pretty bad damage. So, left leg, below the knee was amputated on site, like hanging on by the skin. Knee was completely damaged, and this knee, I had my tibia was fractured. Fibula is like, you can see it's still like a little bit out of place. Arteries were crushed. All my ligaments were gone. Perennial nerve damage. Like everything you could. It's funny. Everything that the Marine Corps and Navy say is required for a limb salvage happened, even though they wouldn't give me the money for the limb salvage.
And for us that are uneducated on that, what is limb salvage?
So limb salvage, they've changed the language to make
sounds like a trading expo, if I'm being honest, dude. But go ahead.
I mean,
sounds like I'm at the flea market, like, hey, limb salvage over here, and they're like, oh shit, I could go for a new elbow, So what do we got?
That's ultimately what it is. Like they just pieced together my leg back together with whatever they could. So pretty much they've changed up the verbiage to make it sound a little bit more understandable. So now instead of limb salvage, they call it limb reconstruction. So
that absolutely sounds 100% better.
Yes.
I wouldn't think I was at a flea market with something like that, but yeah. Damn, that's wild. So that in itself, not only are you I know you well enough where your physical capabilities are far above, most Marines I still know today, to be honest. So, and obviously you look like you've been eating well and fucking lifting more than ever. Dude, you're fucking yoked. But what sets in, because losing your left leg, you know, above the knee, and then having to deal with the quote unquote limb salvage, so a whole different reconstruction. Those are two different, like, physical therapy modes. Those are two. Yeah. They have two completely different end states. Yeah. So which one, like, was priority? Which one was, you know, like, if you could take me through that a little bit.
So pretty much, like, the military tie-in would be, if you look at the VA rating system, that kind of explains it all. So for my amputation on the left side, I think I got like 60 or 70%. Everything that went on with this right side.
Is that a dumb number, JP, or what?
You're just going to give up your leg and it's like, hey, you only get 70%. Like, not 100 right away. I just lost my leg.
So everybody gives the VA flack for this, but there's good reason. I'll get to that. So the right leg, I got, like, if you combine everything together, it was probably 150, 200%. Of course, you could only get a max of 100, but no, so the thing is, with the amputation, it's kind of like, it's kind of harsh to say, but out of sight, out of mind. It's gone. There's a prosthetic that can take over the job of it. Yeah, it sucks, but there's no, or the way they see it for most people, there's not too many follow-on complications that warrant, I guess, more, like, for my left leg, there's nothing else I really need to do in physical therapy for it. The right leg, on the other hand, that's where my recovery was kind of hindered. So everything, I actually had the opposite issue to most amputees when they go through a place like Walter Reed or really any type of rehab, where learning the prosthetic was very easy for me because I didn't trust this leg. Like, I didn't think that this leg was going to hold up worth nothing.
I would have never thought that, but yeah.
Yeah, meanwhile, like, most amputees, because they're, I mean, everybody's situation is very different, but they're able to trust on their sound leg, so they don't trust the prosthetic because you have this device that's supposed to be keeping you standing, so.
Okay. So, no, that's good, and, like, I liked how earlier you brought up, like, the mental piece. And I think when we were texting, you had exchanged something in the words of, you know, the mental piece kind of gets forgotten. Like, people aren't going to be like, oh, what was your mindset during this whole thing? They're more so just, like, grilling the leg. Like, they're like, dude, this guy is, you know, he's an amputee. Yeah. So he's an amputee. Like, but, so, for us to really target our podcast, and your story's great so far, but really what I want to get into and allow you the time for is, where's your head at? Yeah. Through the process from like, I wouldn't say right from joining the Marine Corps, but you were established, did your deployment, you were a commo, correct? Yeah. Yeah, so doing your deployment as a commo, coming
what
back.
Is a commo?
Commo is a communications officer, right?
Yeah, so pretty much just a IT and radios, even though pretty much whenever you can't get on Facebook or Netflix when you're in the field, you yell at me.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Which is heinous that we're even in that, but it's true.
It is.
So going from being a commo, field ops, deployment, coming back, trying to situate your family. You didn't listen to the wife's suggestion about the straps. That's a different mental game. Yes. Accident happens. Recovery's gone. Like, take us through, because it had to be a roller coaster. It had to be.
It was. So that's really the key point there is, especially being a Marine. We're all, don't get me wrong, there's going to be some battle cattle out there. There's going to be some of your BCP guys out there. But, like, we're all, for the most part, to join this organization, you have to be some type of physical specimen. You have to, like, our standards of joining the Marine Corps physically are that much higher than all the other branches. So, and I'm not going to get into the officer enlisted argument.
Yeah,
but
not here. No, not here.
But the same goes for Marine Corps officers as well. Like the Marine Corps takes the fittest on all sides, all aspects of the Marine Corps. So going from that to now having your wife tell you like, "Hey, I'm ready to wipe your ass if I need to," like that is the that is probably like the toughest thing to have everything taken away from you. On top of like, of course, everybody like we all have our career aspirations. I want to deploy again. Actually, I was still in the ICU when I was telling my wife I'm gonna run the Marine Corps Marathon this year. Took a little bit, took a little while to get there, but that's where my head was at, is starting off with that denial that I still want to do these things. Uh, how is this taken away from me?
I appreciate you saying denial, because I don't think that's a realistic thought right there.
Yes.
Denial, because a lot of people would see it as, inspiration. Not saying you don't have that, but when you're sitting there saying, I'm going to do the Marine Corps Marathon, I'm going to go do this, I'm still going to do this. But others hear aspirations, goals, like drive. But deep down, it's denial. You're not ready to accept that, like, this is reality, and you have to take it slow. So, no, I appreciate you sharing that. So, I guess changing a little bit of a spectrum. Was there ever a time during that phase where because I mean, where are you at now? What are the things that you've been doing since? Let's list some of those things, because I know there's a lot.
Man. So arguably, I am more busy now in my retirement than I was any time in my Marine Corps career. But honestly, it's because like I have the freedom to do what it is that I love now, which is advocate for people like me with disabilities, especially like disabled veterans and wounded warriors out here. So, yeah, the big thing for me is right now I'm cycling, so I ride the hand cycle. You see me all the time riding around here all day.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, it scares me a little bit, because I'm always like, bro, thank God I'm driving a Kia Soul. All right, because
you're not doing much damage.
Yeah, dude. With a Kia Soul, I think if I hit you, your leg would come back. Like, that's how the Kia Soul works.
My bike will probably dent in your your front grill.
He'll fuck them all. They'll be like, look, your Kia Soul's totaled from a hand cycle. So is it called a hand cycle, right?
Yeah.
And then the other ones that I've seen disabled individuals ride is called a recumbent, right?
Yeah. So you have a recumbent trike. You have upright trike, so looks like a regular bike with two wheels on the back. Hand cycles.
Did you ever ride a hand cycle or use one prior to your injury?
No.
Like, not even to just see? Or did you not really know what it was, or what?
So, actually, that's another good tie-in for the theme of this conversation is, while I was at Walter Reed, just going back to like that denial piece, that point of pride, I met with the adaptive sports program manager, my boy Harvey, love him to death.
Shout out Harvey, hell yeah.
And he asked me, what sports are you interested in? What do you want to do? And I told him whatever's going to get me to the Paralympics. That was just my focus, is if I'm going to be denied my opportunity to continue the career I was in at that point, I'm going to reach for the next toughest goal, which would be going to the Paris Paralympics in 2024. So I remember it was May going into June, and Harvey, he was like, hey, we have an event going on up in New York. It's a little 4-mile race in Central Park. You could run it, walk it, roll it, bike it. Here's a hand cycle, get on it, let's see if you like that. At first, it was kind of weird, but I mean, my wife was still with me up at Walter Reed at that point. It's a free trip to New York. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll go ahead and take this.
Yeah.
I've never thought about cycling before. Never would have thought about it, but it's a free trip to New York City. Cool. And got up there, did the race, came in third place, and that's when like the fire was lit again. And for me, emotionally and mentally, I felt like myself again. I felt like that guy who was all territory, come from the Virgin Islands, all territory defensive back in high school, ran track in college, to this new life. I felt like that old guy again that's able to compete, and really my disability didn't matter in that moment. And it just so happens that hand cycling I'm good at. A year later,
Self-proclaimed, or like, are you like, are you ranked? Like, if there was a fantasy hand cycling, am I taking you in the first round, or what are we talking?
It depends on how long your league is gonna last. If we're talking a few years.
So not a dynasty league or what? Like,
no, so actually in my first year, like a lot of the guys that so that race up in New York, it connected me with the Achilles International Freedom Team, so a team of hand cyclists and runners who are all disabled veterans, majority amputees, but all different types of disabilities. Some of those guys are on the U.S. team. They've become great mentors to me, and a lot of them now are worried about me because the progress that I've made in my first year and a half, going from never riding on a hand cycle before to putting up points at the World Cup and riding with some of the best in the world, not just the country, but in the actual world. It's they know they've got some competition coming. So
that's right, baby.
That's so cool. It's like I mean, honestly, it's like Miyagi teaching Danielson, right? But like now they're worried about the grasshopper that they taught everything to.
And the great thing about this community also, that I'll say, just the disabled veteran community in general, is like playing sports. Like you know, like when you're going up against competition, you want the edge on them. You don't want to give them any of your trade secrets or anything that's gonna give them the leg up in competition. Whereas these guys are some of the most supportive dudes out here, and girls. They're like, every race, even though they know I'm going to be on their ass or I might even potentially beat them in a race, we're still sharing advice. We're still trying to uplift each other, because more competition means more. It's just a better time.
Yeah. It's just a better time overall.
Exactly.
I mean, I feel like that's even in, that's sports in general.
Exactly.
You always like being lined up with somebody else where you're like, that guy's going to fuel me, I'm going to fuel him, and it's going to be a good time. Win or lose,
exactly.
End result, whatever it is. So you talked about, you said Team Achilles.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're a part of now, or are you again, because I'm uneducated now on this. Are there multiple teams we're trying out for?
You go back to the fleet, and all of a sudden you just drop everything from Wounded Warrior Battalion.
Yeah, for real.
No, so Achilles, that was really the first organization that I got connected to that, like I still do stuff with them. And a little side note, but with Achilles' help and she's my big sister now, Janet. She's the director of the Freedom Team. We just ran the Marine Corps 10K, my first time running any distance of that type since losing.
Now, when you say run, again, this is because not hand cycle.
Not hand cycle. It was
actually running.
It was more like a hobble. But
okay, no, I didn't mean in a discredit way. I had assumed when you went and did. Because I had talked to you previously about getting you on the show. Yeah. And you said, I can't this weekend, I'm going to do a 10K. And I had assumed with a hand cycle. And I was like, he's going to go up there and make these dudes look like fucking ass. And I'm going to hear about it. And it's going to be awesome. More accolades for Drew. But now that I'm hearing you ran it. Yeah. Dude, that's so legit. That's so cool. I mean, I wouldn't do that. And I have I have 2 legs. You won't catch me doing that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've retired the running leg a year after I got it. I'm sending it back up to Walter Reed. They can give it to somebody else.
Wait. So that's a thing.
Yes.
And again,
yes.
I know this from hanging out with you. But again, for our viewers, maybe JP, there's different types of legs.
Yes. So this one is the, you could call it we'll say the Bentleys of the prosthetic legs. It's expensive. It's got a computer in it. I have golf mode if I want to go never play golf. Like it has.
Dude, some people actually need that.
Yeah.
For their golf game.
It actually comes with an app. How like nice this leg is. But then I have like a regular like backup knee that not as smart. I fall on it all the time. And then I have a running blade. So there's a lot of different
running blade's the one that's like a shaped like a hook, right?
Yeah, if
and
you
just
remember,
throw a shoe on the end, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or actually no, it doesn't have. So mine actually is made by Nike. So Nike actually I wish.
Sponsorship.
No, Nike actually partnered with one of the prosthetic companies to make a running blade. So like before he got himself in trouble, like you'll see like Oscar Pistorius, the Blade Runner from South Africa.
Yeah.
And those folks. Hunter Woodall is another one.
That story's wild.
It is.
Oscar Pistorius?
It is.
Why'd you even say that name? I honestly thought you weren't going to rip that name out.
I wasn't born in the United States. I can speak other languages.
Okay, alright. Shout at me. I'll take it. Alright, so, no, that's really cool because I feel like that helps because people would probably just look at that and be like, oh, like, for one, I feel like you look at it, somebody who is disabled in general, and you automatically count them out. And that's not the case. Because then you also now talk about how people have been almost ahead of the game, designing things for you to reignite that fire, for you to be involved again. So we'll go from like the Team Achilles, so then that got you to compete in more events. Put yourself out there, and then again, I follow your Instagram. We've known each other. Did you start a nonprofit? Again, wait, why are you laughing? I'm so confused. Is that what it is?
Yeah, yes, I did start a nonprofit. No, so actually, so it was in the inspiration of Achilles. So I love what Achilles was doing for people all over, and I realized, like, of course, everybody inevitably knew that I was going to be getting out of the Marine Corps, and the question I got asked from a lot of folks back home in the Virgin Islands was, are you coming back down here? I'm like, all right, that might be cool. My wife, she calls herself an honorary Virgin Islander.
Do you accept that or no?
So we
she might listen to this episode, so watch out.
So we were we were looking into going back home, and so that's when I realized that there weren't really many opportunities for people with disabilities in the Virgin Islands. So that's when just talking to a bunch of organizations up here, they all said the same thing. It's logistically too difficult to get thousands of dollars of equipment from here to the islands and back because, I mean, adaptive equipment is expensive. A hand cycle, even the cheap racing hand cycle that I have costs like $10,000.
Jesus.
Of course, there's a bunch of nonprofits that'll help support and get you that equipment, but yeah, that's when I decided I'll go ahead and bridge that gap, and I started my nonprofit to provide the same opportunities for people back home as I have gotten up here in the States. But then even further, as I was like getting ready to move back down here to North Carolina from Walter Reed, got to Wounded Warrior Battalion and realized that a lot of the opportunities the Marines and Walter Reed were getting don't trickle down to Camp Lejeune. And I mean, I get it. The DC area, that's where all your funding's gonna go. Everybody in the Beltway is looking to get their name on, like in the news for what donation they do.
Yeah, we always love a good vet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
okay.
none of it makes its way down here. So that's when I started my newest program within the nonprofit, specifically targeting disabled veterans and active duty recovering service members here in this area, because for a location that has one of the highest concentrations of disabled veterans in the country, there's none of those adaptive sports services outside of if you go to the Warrior Games or something like that.
Yeah, but that's like a
Yes.
very slim opportunity.
Exactly.
It kind of almost seems sometimes like the Warrior Games and Invictus and stuff like that. Like you tend to see the same people. It's a very
Exactly.
slim community, so yeah, that's not always an opportunity that's open, especially to like the vets in the area. So no, I think that's good that you bring that up, but that's super dope that you're trying to bridge the two. That
Yeah.
not necessarily that you like, you know, you saw, I think, the real logistical matter of what you can do immediately. I do think that your work for the Virgin Islands is gonna happen. I have full faith in that, and I think that it's gonna continue to be successful from even where it's at. You just putting it on the map is already a huge accomplishment for somewhere like the Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
So leading into that, talked about your wife not being an honorary Virgin Island member. If you were to compete in the Paralympics, what's your thought on that?
Oh, of course it's gonna be Virgin Islands all day. So pretty much, and that's actually the essence of why I started it is I hosted my first clinic down there through our program Adapt VI, which is a program of the nonprofit Salvage Life.
And it's called Adapt VI.
Adapt VI is our Virgin Islands program. And
Okay.
the organization or that program falls under our headquarters of Salvage Life, but
And then is Salvage Life the actual nonprofit?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
So pretty much.
Oh yeah, you're wearing the shirt. It says 2 legs are over it. Okay, hold on. Okay.
But pretty much the goal is to inspire more athletes and more representation from the Virgin Islands at the Paralympic level. So like just in the 2 clinics or 2 years of clinics I was able to have down there, I've identified one para swimmer that if we can get him classified, with his times he would be contending for a medal in his events.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm actually working out a partnership right now with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee to come down and host an event with me to just expand what it is that we are doing for those folks down there. And of course, who wouldn't want to take a trip from Colorado in the middle of winter to come to the Virgin Islands? And
Oh yeah, I mean,
Oh,
come on,
man.
that's a given. Yeah, I'm taking my wife. That's our honeymoon.
Yeah.
Like.
On the government's dime.
Yeah. Are there any good wheelchair basketballers out there? What's the competition looking like?
That's actually what I'm working on now, is starting up some wheelchair basketball, and actually wheelchair football is the big
I've seen
one.
that.
So the cool thing about wheelchair football is, you know how, like for instance, in your case with your knee, you can play in like the Warrior Games and everything. You can play wheelchair basketball, but you're technically not eligible for the National Wheelchair Basketball League.
Yep.
With wheelchair football, it was actually, I won't say it was started with veterans in mind, but the essence of it is, if you can't play stand-up football, like you can't, like, and it doesn't matter how, if you have a bad back, if you have a bad knee, and you're not able to run or cut on the field, you're open to wheelchair football.
Oh, you heard it here first. I'm taking my talents. Oh man.
So pretty much, Move United. So my nonprofit Salvage Life, we just became a member organization with Move United, which is a huge nonprofit that supports adaptive sports. They have I forgot how many member nonprofits at this point, but they have chapters like literally and organizations all over the country. So what I'm trying to work on with them on, I might get in trouble for saying this, but I want to bring a wheelchair football team to Jacksonville, North Carolina. So their wheelchair football league is actually partnered with the NFL.
Whoa.
And
okay, hey.
yeah.
Tell me, I want to try out. I want to try out. I think I could be the Max Crosby, maybe the George Kittle, possibly.
No, you're a Kelsey. I could see you being a Travis.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yep. Get your jerseys while they're hot.
No, so the whole idea of the league is to provide an outlet for not just disabled veterans, but they're focusing on disabled veterans. So when I've had some teams recruiting me to come play for them. I told them I'm not driving like however long to get, like there's no team within like a 11-hour drive of here. So that's when I started talking with their assistant commissioner at a event where they seem to be interested in helping me to start up a team here in Jacksonville, maybe land a partnership with the Panthers.
So you're gonna So you talked about prior to the Marine Corps, you were like all territorial D-back.
Yeah.
You see yourself feeling like, are they coming to Hairston Island? You got them locked down out there,
so
or what?
I never cared much for Revis. I'm not gonna get into my.
All right, no. I like that. JP loves sports. So who was your favorite corner or D-back growing up?
So it was always Antonio Cromartie. Picked off Peyton Manning 3 times, 1 game with that iconic falling backwards. Yeah. So Antonio Cromartie has always been the guy that I looked up to, but then I never grew anymore, so then I was looking at like Darren Sproles, 5'6", a little bit.
Keeping it real. You're like, I never grew up anymore.
I'm pretty sure in that game also Sproles had a kick return and a punt return for a touchdown also. So yeah.
Oh man, that's legit though. Those are good ones. Especially because Sproles was an Eagle at one point, so I can absolutely appreciate that.
Okay.
100%. No, that's so cool. That's awesome. I guess we'll flash forward to now. We've talked about a lot of your accolades. Besides what viewers are going to see or listeners are going to state as the obvious, what's been the real con behind your whole injury?
Oh, it's a constant mental and emotional battle. So the thing is, we talked about very briefly before, but that's why I wanted to come on here and talk about it, is everybody sees the leg and they think about, oh, he's an amputee. They see the physical issues that I might be dealing with. They hold the doors open and all that stuff. But nobody thinks about the mental and emotional side. So in my case, a lot of people don't know. I was a below the knee amputee originally, and I had to make the decision to cut above the knee. I still don't remember what my leg looked like before that above the knee amputation, because I never looked down at it. I never wanted to see it. I didn't want to believe it. So I still have no understanding of what it looked like as a below the knee amputation.
Now was that classified as an elective amputation, or was that also doctors suggesting? Because I know elective is you're speaking with the doctors and saying hey, this below the knee amputation is not working out how I want it to personally.
Yeah.
So how did you come to the decision where you're I'm going AK?
Yeah, so it was I guess technically it was elective, but we had a lot of conversations that first week. I think I had 4 or 5 surgeries in that first week. Starting off with the life-saving procedures and then going on to more of the revisions and finalizing everything. So my wife, she was not very happy about me constantly going away and then showing back up with more of me missing. But But yeah, talking with the doctors, we had a conversation about how bad the knee was. They said if I kept it, which we would be able to, um, prosthetics would have just been a pain. Like I can do stuff with this knee, but this knee was 10 times worse. So I also had a small femur fracture, like probably like right here. So we talked about it. We said, okay, well if we cut above the knee, we can cut out that piece of that fracture, save on recovery time, and that way all I have to worry about on this side was just the stitches healing, just focus on the rehab of this side. So it was a tough decision to make at the time, but it was uh, it was an important decision to make, especially long term, looking at quality of life. Plus, also there's more benefits out there for above the knee amputees than below the knee. So I guess
and you have a good friend that's a below the knee, right? We'll give her a little shout out.
Annika the amputee, my little sister.
Yeah. So yeah, because I've been around when you guys have some banter and share some words about like AK versus BK. No, she's cool. I got to meet her, but so mentally making that kind of decision. In all of this, what was your wife's mental state at the time?
So,
if you have any idea, like not pinpoint because people are good at hiding it. They stash it away. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, you like that, right? Yeah, you like that. Yeah, you like that shit. Yeah. So what was her ideas on everything?
So at the time, she was, like I said, she hated the idea of going into an operating room, and at the time, this was the other tough part. So. We were still knee deep in COVID.
Hit him with that. Hit him with the whiz, dude. Oh my god. I like that.
So at the time, my wife was only able to see me from 5 to 9 p.m. I was only allowed one visitor a day. Of course, I have like friends, family that wanted to see me and had to essentially tell folks like, no, I just want to see my wife. And she can only see me for those few hours a day. There were some times that while we're like having our little hospital dates, they'd go and cart me off and go do some tests, and I miss out on getting to spend the time with her. So I saw at that point she was very. I could tell that she was affected by it, even though she was trying to stay strong. And
yeah, she probably wanted to be super understanding and patient.
Yeah,
but you can only be patient for so long. You figured that they would have taken into consideration, hey, you're already here at the hospital, we've already done some of these procedures, we can wait till she's gone.
Yeah, and I had it out.
At the time.
I remember having it out with a couple of the staff, like when I was going to.
And I know you. I bet you did.
Oh yeah, like there was one time I remember them actually like she was there. They're like, I'm eating. I had surgery that morning, or really all day. I think it was like a 6 or 7 hour long procedure. So I didn't eat anything. It's like 6 o'clock. My wife just brought me some food from outside the hospital because at this point I didn't learn about the cafeteria. They bring you all this like crappy hospital food, and then there's a cafeteria like maybe like a 5-minute walk down that has like your fried chicken, your mashed potatoes, and like everything that you
probably
would
a Domino's pizza in there.
Probably, yeah. No, that would be too triggering at that point. Yeah. But I remember them coming in and trying to take me for an MRI, and I just flat out said no. Like, they're like, well, no, we have you scheduled. I'm like, I don't care. Like, this is my time. I'm hungry. I haven't seen my wife since yesterday this time. I'm not going anywhere. You can call whoever you want. I'm not moving. I mean, I was in a bed that they could roll away, so it wasn't, like, much of a fight I could put up. But thankfully, they listened to me. But yeah, it took a toll on her. And at the time, like, when I was telling her, like, hey, look, this is the quality of life implications of making this decision. She didn't like the idea of it, even though she was understanding. But I never really thought about I guess, how she was feeling in all of it, because I mean she sees that her husband is alive and everything. I'm thinking everything's cool now until she told me her story of that night. And the funniest thing about it is I've done the mental health counseling. I had a psychologist up at Walter Reed, psychiatry, everything you could think of. And the only time that I've ever had like an actual emotional reaction to talking about the story is telling her side of the story. So that night, she went over to the house in our other car with our dogs. She was waiting for me. A while passed, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I didn't show up even though I had left right behind her. And then she finally gets this phone call from a random woman saying, hey, your husband is here in the street. The ambulance is coming. So she's losing her mind. By the time she got there, I was already getting loaded up into the ambulance. And she couldn't see me. They told her, I had told them at that time before they knocked me out to take me over to Camp Lejeune. So she meets me there, and if I get emotional right now, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
So I'm laying lifeless in the ER. Apparently, reading through the notes, I went unresponsive in the ambulance. So when kudos to Naval Hospital for once, they made a good decision. Everybody in the hospital, it seems like she said, was crowded around me in a circle, trying to figure out what they were going to do. This one lieutenant commander, I don't remember his name. I remember he was Asian, but he finally made the decision to get me out of Lejeune, send me up to Vidant in Greenville, because he recognized I was beyond them being able to do anything for. And they told my wife. She asked if she could see me before I got lifted out there, and they told her yeah. She's talking to me. Of course, I'm unresponsive. I don't know any of this is going on. And when she gives me a kiss, she said I started convulsing on the table, or on the stretcher, which they said was possibly me reacting to her, like even though I was unresponsive, like subconsciously, I know what's going on, but just hearing her have to go through that, and then on the flight up to Vidant, it's an hour and a half drive from Camp Lejeune, so the doctor calls her, tells her that I'm getting ready to go in and they're going to do all these surgeries. He'll call her to let me know, or let her know how everything went. And just imagining her have to sit there for hours, not hearing anything, not knowing if I'm alive, or while she's driving up there, not knowing if she's going to be showing up to her husband still alive.
Damn, dude.
Or if he is dead.
Yeah.
So that's the toughest part, I think, that I've had to deal with all of this, is just knowing what I put my wife through. And that just, as you can see, like I still get emotional about it up to today. And those are the things that they don't talk to you about when you do end up in especially a traumatic accident or a traumatic injury, is the effect that it has on your loved ones. My mother in the Virgin Islands can't do anything but just receive a phone call and hear what's going on. Like, those types of things are the more important parts. Like, if I have to sit in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, I can still go through and do stuff. But it's a constant reminder of what they had to go through, but then also looking down every day and seeing, oh, I really don't have a leg while I'm taking a shower or something like that. Those are the things that they don't prepare you for when you're getting ready to leave the hospital, or you're getting ready to get your prosthetic leg and walk around, is that mental and emotional side. And I'd say that is the biggest hurdle that I've had to deal with, because of course, like, we're Marines. Like we're tough. We don't want to talk to anybody about our feelings and whatnot. But when you get to that point where like there's so many things compounding at, like, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought right now.
No, you're good. It's just a lot. It's building up, and that's such an emotional battle, especially because it's not something you asked for. So like now you feel a guilt. You were talking about like looking at your leg and trying to accept that, and it's a reminder of what your family went through. But the real reminder is that you didn't choose that. You didn't make a decision that was going to put them in this predicament. So, man, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that is very true. That when people go through certain events, they're looking at it face value, but nobody would ever think about how hard it is for you to sit there in normal daily activities and be reminded, like, okay, I really don't have a leg, you know, and that I think those are a big con, because that's kind of how we got here. I asked you what the cons were, and that's your biggest one, and that, more power to you, because you are an actual reflection of how people should carry themselves, and that's not me trying to sweeten this whole thing up. That's me being real. I wouldn't think you were an inspirational person if I didn't already know it. So away from the cons, now I feel like there's like myths out there of how veterans get special treatment. Not only veterans, but disabled veterans. So what's a good con, or what's a good pro, I mean, of this whole thing?
So
I have an answer for you, because you kind of answered this one time we were sitting outside, but I really want to know if you have a different one. And then I'm going to exploit your other one.
I'll say, this might be too soon to say this because I'm still taking the class at ECU, but one of my professors actually, so I'm studying rec therapy now. Of course, everybody knows I'm into the adaptive sports, and rec therapy is typically the therapist that would be responsible for just like fun stuff. So adaptive sports falls in that realm.
You're like the PE teacher.
Essentially.
Yeah. You're like the PE teacher of adaptive sports. Everybody loves gym class.
So I remember there was a week where I accidentally, they said at ECU. So at ECU, on the school calendar, it says fall break. I'm like, okay, break. Spring break is a week. Fall break has to be a week. So I skipped a week of class to go to a conference down in Georgia for adaptive sports. Didn't realize I was missing class. I emailed my professor saying, hey, yeah, I'm sorry. I missed your class. I'm at this adaptive sports conference. I'll make up whatever work I need to. And all of them are like, it's fine. Tell us how the conference was. I was thinking about going to this. So that's the first thing. But then when I got back, I was late to turn in a paper. And I remember my professor came to me. He's like, hey, Andrew, I wanted to talk to you in my office after class. I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm about to be told I'm failing the class because I missed like a week's worth of work. We get in there. He's like, so Andrew, yeah, about class. I'm like, man, what's he about to say? He's like, yeah, so we're supposed to be talking about amputations on Monday. So I wanted to know, do you mind giving that lecture? I feel like it would be great for the students and you'll get some extra credit points. I'm like, so I'll get extra credit points, but not like, I'm not getting penalized for not turning in all this work the past week. And yeah, so that's been one cool thing. Is
he's like fair trade.
Yeah.
He's like fair trade. You give me your class time and your leg, and you get good grades.
Yeah.
The leg is included.
But it's been like, that's been one pro I'll say for the field that I'm trying to work in, is I instantly become the poster child of whatever program I'm doing, because I'm like living the life that they want to embody. So it'd be kind of hypocritical for them to tell me, hey, yeah, you can't miss class to go compete at this adaptive sports event that we're about to teach the students about next week. Like,
yeah, it doesn't work that way. So that's cool, because you have aspirations to do a job that in turn benefits, you, and then you would be serving the people that are just like you, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, right? Because this is like a joke I was thinking about, right? And if you didn't have that job, I was like thinking like, okay, where could we really use, somebody that is an amputee in a job, right? If they weren't doing something that was really going to benefit their own community, would you ever accept the role as being like a zombie on The Walking Dead, right? Because I've seen that before. Yeah, I know, I've seen it.
If you
I have to know.
If you stay in this area, and you have to, so if you stay in this area and you have to use the VA down in Wilmington, apparently there's a movie studio like right across the road, and a couple times I've actually like considered
Hell yeah.
going over there.
Hell yeah.
They teach you about this in TRS also, by the way. So.
Oh, no shit. Yeah, I did not know. Because I'm just thinking, like, how many times have I seen a war movie where they have to, like, do makeup on somebody who got their leg blown off, right? But they could pay you that same amount to actually have your leg off.
So,
if I'm being real.
I'll do you one better. I've actually talked to the wife about this. I have considered actually starting a foot OnlyFans. I mean, how many...
Stop. Stop. So are you gonna wait? So question. A foot only, because it's not feet.
No.
So is that what I'm getting? Am I using that too poorly? Or I'm thinking like for the foot only fans.
Oh man.
Are you taking pictures of the running one?
No, I mean, so
some sicko out there.
Whichever ones. I mean, imagine. I don't have to wear them, so imagine how better angles I can get taking pictures of each one of my prosthetic feet and putting them up there.
Oh my god.
I don't need a photographer. I got this myself.
Dude, you are a Swiss Army knife now. That's the real pro. You're going and leading, organizations to help the Virgin Islands. You're going into talking about wheelchair football in the Lejeune area. You're talking about being proactive in your own community and trying to get a degree that helps enable that. You're talking about possibly going to the VA and getting casted in movies. And now you're talking about the realistic idea that you're gonna do a foot only fans, dude. That you had a Swiss Army knife if I've ever met one, dude. And that's, I think,
gotta keep people on their toes, man.
I think this will absolutely help somebody listening, because there's probably people out there that are wondering the same things as me. I'm just unfiltered and will ask it or say it. But it puts it in a real retrospect that you have a good, genuine personality about you. From the trials and tribulations of you looking down in the shower, and for you to contemplate what your wife and your mom's going through, and then your other family and friends, but for you to keep a smile on, and I mean, again, no pun intended, but put your good foot forward.
I mean, it's kind of difficult when you start each day on the right foot.
Like there's no failure there. It's always the right one. You know that Marine Corps, right?
That's how they kicked him up.
Dude.
He can't get up on his left foot.
Yeah, drone searchers would hate you, bro.
Oh my gosh.
They'd be like, you take off on the left foot. Everything is on the left, and you're like, okay, well, I'm a drill laborer. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, ask
they'd be yelling at you pivot. You'd be like, on what? On what?
There's a reason why First Sergeant Renteria from Wounded Warrior Battalion got mad at me when I was presenting awards. I couldn't drill for shit anymore. So.
Yeah, no shit, dude. No shit. That's what I mean. You would have gotten every First Sergeant on Lejeune riled up. Absolutely.
Oh,
just
man.
riled up. I mean, I even remember, I think the coolest thing, I had you come to my re-enlistment, and you were my re-enlisting officer. Super dope. Go ahead, rip me.
No.
Rip me, get after it.
So my two favorite things from that moment was, one, you trying to recite back the oath of enlistment.
Hey. Yeah, I did put it in shambles.
That was great, but even better was Lance Corporal of Marines.
Oh, Howard.
Holding that formation.
Oh, yeah. That's the only way I wanted it done. And we love Howard.
Oh my
We
god.
love him.
I love him.
We love him. He was a part of like our trifecta.
Yes.
Me, you, and him got to do a lot of stuff together. You guys were such an intricate part.
Taylor Curry.
Yeah.
Throwing up that 3-point shot from half court at the Warrior game.
He had no business doing that either. But no, I think like that was such a meaningful moment for me to have you guys there with me. And I thought it was only cool to have a Lance Corporal read my re-enlistment warrant. You know, the funniest thing about that moment was people could have easily sat there and saw that you had an amputation. But for once, they didn't notice that.
Exactly. Everybody was staring at this Lance Corporal.
reading this re-enlistment citation. And dude, there was a mass sergeant in the back. That would not get his eyes off of Howard.
Oh my gosh.
JP, you know Master Escobar in the floor? He was just
the whole
grilling
time.
the whole time. Howard, when we got done, he was like,
my
I
gosh.
could feel that man. Just
Exactly. I'm sure he still has nightmares right now.
Oh, he probably does. He probably does. No, that was such a cool moment for me because again, you guys were such an intricate part to like my recovery. You did so much for me in my own mental health battle. When there was times where I thought that I wasn't going to stay in, that I wasn't going to keep going.
Yeah.
It was either you or Howard being like, dude, I mean, to be honest, you're the only candidate that can go back. You just got to do it, dude. And that's when it hit me. I was like, all right, it's not just about me. Like, these dudes believe in me. I got to do this. Like, we really were the trifecta. Yeah. And we had such a good time doing it. But that's so cool. So you didn't compete in the Warrior Games last year. And I'll leave that up for whatever. Maybe there was reasons on it, and because you were training, because you said in a week, and this is why you missed the games, right? You are solely preparing for, what is it?
So
this is so dope. Go ahead.
It's in a week and a day. I'll be flying down to Santiago, Chile, where I'll be competing as the first cyclist in Virgin Islands history on the international level. So, and that's
fucking dope, dude.
So that's not hand cyclist. That's cyclist. Period. So upright, able-bodied.
You're the first one ever.
The first one.
And you're sitting in my fucking makeshift podcast studio. Fuck everybody else.
Oh my god.
Come see me because I got the first ever. The Virgin Islands guy taking your virginity right here on the show. You heard it.
Oh man. No, so the reason I didn't do the games was right before the games I had just finished with the Paracycling World Cup, so that was where I made that actual like historic moment where I had folks from it was the coolest thing, having folks from all different countries see the Virgin Islands flag show up at a cycling event for the first time, and even like the international cycling staff saying like, like you're actually like the first to do this, and for them to recognize it.
For all the dudes out there, what level of hard on is that? Like for real, dude. Like let's think about that. I'll pitch it like it's a fucking movie. Like, coming this June to your theaters, a story of inspiration. The first cyclist to represent the Virgin Islands ever.
No, so before we start getting ahead of ourselves, I got my ass completely handed to me that weekend.
We didn't even know. But hey, JP, we're gonna have to cut that out.
No, but the thing is, one, nobody had expectations. So when I beat a few people, it was like, it was great.
Oh my god, I can't imagine.
But no, it was honestly, and I've won races. I've competed with the best here in our country. I've podiumed at, like, you could look in my office right now and you'll see like all the accolades and everything.
This isn't his office, bro.
No, I know.
Much.
JP, I know. I turned around to look, like, I've only got 3 things. I got 3 things up there.
No, so, and that, it goes back to what I was saying before with like the folks in the paracycling community, my friends and mentors, like the level of progression that they're seeing from me. Like, it's cool to have all those medals and everything, but when you're on the world stage in a road race, and like hand cycles, we don't typically go as fast as an upright bike might go. But when you're with guys who are going on like flat, like out here on this road, 30 miles an hour, and you're just like sitting behind them, drafting off of them, getting pulled into their greatness, I'll say. Like, cause I will fanboy for those dudes because it's crazy. Like, and everybody that I know says the same thing. Like, that was probably the most exciting experience of our cycling careers, was just to be in that mix and being pulled through that fast. When like it was amazing. That whole weekend, regardless of how the outcome went, was just, and it's beyond anything I could ask for, and that's why I gave up the Warrior Games, because
well worth it.
Yes.
Well worth it. Even though we did get gold in basketball, and you weren't there.
Clearly, you didn't need. Clearly, I was holding you back, even though I was setting you up for every shot that.
I still missed all of them. I still was 10%. Yeah, no, I had a great run up until the championship game, and I was just the opposite of lights out. I was lights on.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I wasn't. I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a fucking boat. Dude, that is so cool. So in that moment in time, because we'll start wrapping things up here.
Yeah.
In that moment in time, though, adaptive sports, you can honestly sit here and say, helped you replace that doubt.
Oh yeah.
Helped you replace that thought of denial that you were dwelling on for a while.
Yeah. So, sorry. So I talked about this at Wounded Warrior, and which is why I was pushing for more stuff. Like, you've seen me try to do the basketball stuff.
Yeah, I watched you bitch out like all the staff over there. But go ahead, yeah.
So, like, that's my thing, is like going down to the Warrior Games, what was that, last year, and like just seeing how like all these, especially like the younger dudes, but just like everybody who's been removed from the fleet. Like, you go from having like your boys out in the fleet, being part of like a team, to now being at this unit where, depending on your staff member that's responsible for you, it could make or break you mentally. Like, having like feeling like somebody actually cares about you. I've seen down at the Warrior Games how those team sports helped. Like, you've seen it with basketball, how hype everybody was. Like,
oh, dude.
Even like it's sad because of course it dwindles on down afterwards. But like, you seen the group me after the games,
it
and
just
leading
kept
up to
going.
it. Like you build this family through adaptive sports, which like for somebody with a disability who might not be as social, or who might not want to go out into public as much, and that's any disability. You could be in a wheelchair, you could have back issues, whatever. You'll have stuff that's keeping you from going out and making friends, or wanting to be out in public because of maybe pain or how you're looked at. But the adaptive sports is a way for you to connect with folks on like a...
Hold on. Go back like 15 seconds. It stopped.
Oof.
We had, the max was, we reached the max.
Oh, my bad.
No, that's good though. Now we know.
Yeah.
Now we know where we're at.
No, you're good. Let me see what was the last thing? Public as much. Okay. For somebody with a disability that may not be as social, or like right there. Okay.
Tell us when we're good, JP. I'll kick it. Yeah, you were talking about someone who's not as social. Someone who has a disability, they're not as social. So you talk about how it got to the Warrior Games. We had the group me. It really brought the best out of them.
Yeah. So like the team sports for like somebody who might not be as social anymore, they might isolate themselves because whether it's pain keeping them from going out in public, or even just like their perception, or like you have some vets who might be dealing with PTSD or depression and don't really want to go out and be in public. The adaptive sports, it's a way for guys and girls to connect on a different level that they probably would have gotten when they were out in the fleet with their units, with their boys and their girls out there. So yeah, that's why I'm like a big proponent of adaptive sports. I've seen how it helped me out. I feel guilty that my last 2 years in the Marine Corps, I got to travel all over the country, do all this cool stuff while I've seen so many junior Marines just sitting in the barracks, not able to take advantage of those same opportunities. So that's why I do what I do, to try to connect as many folks to those same resources so everybody can have a good time like I do.
No, that's awesome. No, I think you really encompass exactly what community, not just Marines, not just disabled individuals. You really are like an embodiment of what we need in this world. So, from myself and JP, I appreciate you being here today. I appreciate you sharing the stories. I appreciate you being real, because that's what people deserve to hear, what they need to hear. So thank you for what you poured out. Thank you for what you do for disabled veterans. I think that's awesome that you really are putting the best foot forward, and we can absolutely appreciate that. And like I said before, thanks for showing up today. Thanks for giving us your time. And we are more than privileged for having you on here, so I appreciate it.
Stop.
Yeah, no, but for real, bro, I appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
No, it's been great. I really appreciate the opportunity, man.
Oh, absolutely. Always. We'll do another one maybe in the future. We'll come back after Chile, and we'll come back after the Paralympics, but we look forward to it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
You're not going to wrap it up?
That was my wrap up.
Huh? I was like, all right. Thanks
stop?
for joining us.
Okay, then I guess I will. Here we go. My producer's yelling at me.
We should probably be like, all right, cool. Like, this was Stash Away Thoughts. Like.
Okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah, my producer made me do this. JP yelled at me. But hey, this was your first official episode of Stashed Away Thoughts. We had an awesome guest. Hopefully you look forward to hearing more from us. But again, we're a community. We're in this together. And let's bring some of those stashed thoughts to life. Was that fucking good enough for you?